How's it going? Dang it.
Okay, you.
I'm doing good. I'm in the middle of the process of making some homemade ketchup, but I have to let that sit and simmer for a long time.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna have to get up occasionally to go over and check on it. Because I don't have a... Well, I do have a crock, but it's got some nasty shit in it, and I really didn't feel like cleaning it out. And I have an electric stove, so I can have a lot more consistent heat.
Enemy spotted us. Focus here. They're looking at us. Not working. Focus on this area. Gun loaded. Track damaged. They spotted us. Locked on. Just scratch them. Everyone exit.
Wow.
Mission over.
That comet wouldn't move up. Hopefully this one goes better.
Alright, men, we've got enemies in the area. We either have to take them all out or capture their base. Let's roll. Enemies looking right at us. There's one. Focus on this area. Enemies got us in their sights. See one. Prepared, right on. Dropping target. Ready to fire on target.
Hello, Sergeant Soul.
Penetration. Locked on. Enemy exposed. Enemies looking right at us. Penetration. Ready to fire on target.
No, slippery.
Enemies got us in their sights. Locked on. Looks like that one went right through.
Also, what's up, taters? I don't know if I said that because I was kind of focusing, and then I fucked up, so it didn't really matter that I was focusing.
They've spotted us. They're trying to capture our base. Pierce their armor. He's gone. Find us another target. Load it up. Let it rip.
Alright, I was like, do I need to go that way?
We did it. We won.
Hold on, gotta check the stove. I can smell it. It's bubbling a little bit too much. Gotta turn that down just a tad. It's getting thick. Getting there. Not quite ketchup consistency yet. It's at about like, no, I wouldn't even say it's like Tapatio yet. It's like thick. It's like a marinade right now. It's like somewhat, ooh, did I just splorsh myself? Is it good? Am I good? I'm good. You got on the floor. It's alright.
Nurse Nina likes Splash.
It smells more and more ketchup-y the more it cooks down. It's technically not a ketchup, but it's ketchup in the sense that it's cooked down with lots of tomato in it. But it has other things in it that you normally wouldn't find in a traditional ketchup. Like garlic. Not a lot of garlic, but some garlic. It's just good for your system. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of garlic. Some people are like crazy for that stuff. It's like I put 1 clove in a jar of pickles and all I can smell is the garlic in it and not the 3 tablespoons of dill I put in it. And then I have another one which I put the same same sized clove of garlic from the same like thing, because I had one of these big ass mangy cloves of garlic that had like probably 9 to 10 cloves on it. It had so many cloves on it that it had these little baby like misshapen cloves on the very outside of it. So I've been trying to use it all up because I'm not personally a huge fan of garlic. It's not that I hate it, it's that it needs to be within the confines of not overpowering the smell of whatever it is. That's why I don't like a lot of salsas. Most salsas you buy from the store, you know what they smell like? They smell like garlic. They smell like garlic, and then they smell like spaghetti sauce that someone put extra garlic in. And it's just like, bud, tone it back a little bit. I don't know if I'm just sensitive to the smell of garlic or something like that, but it's just like when people put 2 to 3 cloves in a single thing of sauce, and they're like, oh yeah, can you taste the pepper? I'm like, no, all I taste is the fucking garlic. It's garlic with a little bit of pepper funk to it, instead of pepper funk with a little bit of garlic to it. Gives you a little bit of sting on the nostril. When you smell it.
That processed stuff they called salsa is junk. I always make my own.
Also depends on how you like it. Some people like their salsa like really chunky. Some people like their salsa more like guacamole sort of thing, where it's just all like blended together. It really just depends on who you are. That's how my grandmother always used to make her salsa. It was just everything thrown into a thing and mashed into just basically a paste. And it would, because she wouldn't let the cut because if you want to make salsa right, and you don't want your salsa to be very watery, you have to add the salt before you mix the vegetables together and blend them. Normally the best way to do this is to get a colander or a screen, cut all your vegetables up, put the salt on, and let them sit in the screen for about 15 to 30 minutes to pull the moisture out of them. That will make it so your salsa doesn't separate, and you, after like the salsa is set for like an hour, it gets the pool of liquid at the bottom. Doing that will stop that from happening, and it won't make your salsa overly salty either, because most of the salt will get trapped in the water that came out of the vegetables, and the vegetables won't actually be that salty. It's also a trick for making Korean style hot like cucumbers, because that's what they'll do. They salt the cucumbers to draw out the moisture, and then you make like a basically like a curry paste almost, and mix it in with them with some olive oil and vinegar. You just eat it fresh like a salad. It's a Korean thing anyways. This needs to stop bubbling so fast. I turned you down. How are you bubbling even faster? It must be because it's getting so thin. Or not thin. There's not a lot of juice left. Because then once it's done, I have to put it through a screen, which is what I do. I have a kitchen sieve, and I'll just pour it through the sieve and then just let it gloop down through the holes in the sieve, and then I'll take it and I'll take all the mash that isn't ground up yet, and I'll run it in my little blender thing one more time just to try and chop it up enough, and then I'll put it back into the screen. And that way you get a smooth consistency ketchup. If you want a ketchup that's like what you get from a store in terms of consistency. Because I do, call me weird, but there are store-bought things that I like the texture and taste of, but I like to add my own little bit of funkiness, like Heinz ketchup, for example. Heinz ketchup is a classic. To me, you can't have like a traditional hot dog without some form of like Heinz ketchup or mustard. And it's more of the consistency thing than the flavor thing. Because of course you could have way better flavored things on there than fucking ketchup. But it's just like that is the thing. I don't know. I like that kind of stuff. I'm one of those weird people. So when it comes to making my own homemade stuff, I actually try to emulate store-bought stuff the most. Like my dill pickles, for example. If you had one of my like dill pickles, albeit they do have some garlic in them, like I just said. One of them smells all like garlic. The other one, you can't even smell the garlic in it. So I have no idea what difference was there. But the ones that you can barely smell it in, those ones taste exactly like store-bought dill pickles, with just a little bit of funk to them. And they're hot too, because of the peppers, but you can't taste the pepper in it, you just taste the dill. Because I use real dill seed, which has a different aroma than dill stems, like I've said before. Too many people, when they make their dill pickles at home, use the sprigs that you buy at the grocery store. Do not do that. Go out of your way to go to a health food store or a place that sells packages of fresh dill seed. Or, like me, grow your own dill plants, because they will literally grow in the trashiest shit soil ever. They're a weed in most areas of North America. It's why dill weed is even a terminology. It'll grow in a drainage ditch, it'll grow in a garden, it'll grow in a pot with some dirt scooped out of the ground in it. Doesn't matter if it gets waterlogged or dry. You may not get the most beautiful looking dill, but it'll grow, and all you're looking for are the seeds, which come after the flower pods. Or, I shouldn't say flower pods. They look like a little pod with how they are. They don't really have pronounced petals. They sort of just look like a little cup. Like a tiny little cup. And bees will just fly into it, and when it pollinates, it, how do I describe it? It sort of pulls the inside of the flower in, like basically the sex organ parts, and then the bell shape of it, or the hole shape of it, closes up, and it seals both the sides of the flower together, which both sides of the flower then turn into the seed, or the fruit, if you want to call it that, because that's what it really is a fruit. It's a fruit! But most people call anything that looks like a seed, even if it is a fruit, botanically speaking. So, and when you split, you can split it in half, so each dill flower produces 2 seeds. Basically saying, one little flower produces 2 seeds, which you can get a rough estimate of about, like, 16 to maybe 54 flowers on a flower head, depending on how healthy the dill is. And that's like a bunch of seeds. One flower head will make about a half a tablespoon of dried dill seed, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but again, remember that the stuff can grow like a voracious weed, and you can plant it pretty much any time of the year, grow it indoors, and always have something that smells like fresh dill. If anything, it'll become a nuisance because you'll probably get sick of smelling dill every day because the plant is so noxiously aromatic whenever you accidentally brush it or touch it. If you brush a dill plant, you'll smell like dill for the rest of the day unless you spray that down with like some Febreze or something. Hold on, I'm just making sure it's not bubbling too much again. Nope. Whoa. I got it. Tastes like ketchup. In fact, that's the closest I've ever gotten to ketchup. Only thing different about it has garlic in it, like I said. But the tomato and the acid in it, exactly like ketchup. It just needs to thicken up some more. It's almost there, like I said. It probably needs about another hour at this low simmer. I want it to be so thick that I have to scoop it out into the screen with a spoon. If you imagine you just had like a giant pot full of ketchup, that's what I'm basically trying to do. Which, ketchup is actually one of the easiest house condiments to make because all you need is fresh tomatoes, salt, white vinegar, and whatever your preferred way of adding some amount of spice to it is. So normally with most ketchups you find, it's a little bit of black pepper. But it's so ground down and so processed that you can't even see the fleck in it. And sometimes it's just liquid concentrated pepper, not actually like real stuff. And I'm talking black pepper here, not like hot peppers or anything like that. It's that easy. And then all you do is you prepare the tomatoes like you would for canning, which if you don't know how to do that, you boil a pot of water. The water only needs to be deep enough to submerge the tomato a little bit. You get the tomato and you put it in the hot boiling water for around 15 to 30 seconds. You should be able to see air bubbles coming out of the top where the green part was. You should take that off if the tomato has the stem still attached to it. Take the stem off because when you put it in the hot water, you'll be able to see bubbles that will come up out of the center of the tomato, which is actually air escaping from the structure of the cells, and that's good. And you want to let that happen until either 30 seconds have gone by or you notice that the tomato skin has cracked. And after the tomato skin is cracked, you can basically take it out with a pair of tongs or whatever you have. If you have a metal colander, the easiest way to do this is to get a pot of boiling water going and put your metal colander inside the boiling pot of water. That way you just put the tomatoes in the colander, set it into the water, and then you just lift the colander up and out and you have all the tomatoes all done. And all you need to do is then take them over to a cutting board or whatever. And the way that an Italian person would do it is they'd take their thumb, press it into the top of the soft, hot tomato, and pop the stem area out, and then you just take the whole tomato and all the skin will just slide off, just like a sock. It won't even be attached to the skin anymore. It's like magic to people who have never seen that process before, because you always think of like a tomato where the skin's attached and it just sort of is like the hardest part to eat. Well, taking the skin off a tomato literally takes like 10 seconds, if that. You don't need any tools or knives unless you want to cut the top out and you don't want to use your thumb, because unless you're pretty skilled at doing that, you'll end up a lot of the time just mushing the fucking tomato into your hand, and you don't want to do that. So just take a knife, like a small scoring knife, and just cut the top of the tomato out like a pumpkin, and then you can just take a bigger knife and split the tomato in half and put it in your food processor or whatever. And after you have 3 normal store-sized tomatoes, 3 of them, after you have all of them boiled, peeled, you throw them into your food processor and you blend them up. I don't know how many cups of tomatoes that would be, but you do that. And normally the salt content that you want for ketchup is around anywhere from 3 to 5% by weight. So I know that sounds like a bunch of fucking mumbo chef bullshit. Like that doesn't help you figure out how much you actually need to put in. But sorry, I'm choking on my own spit over here. If you feel like you haven't added enough salt, it's easier to add more salt than it is to take salt away. And this is generally the rule of thumb for anything. So if you're using 3 tomatoes, and let's say the collective weight of those is about a pound, or let's say it just to be easy, if you have 100 grams of tomatoes, then 3% by weight would be 3 grams of salt. And if you have a scale or a way of weighing whatever you got by grams, just do that. Whatever 3% of how much weight you have is, that's how much salt you need to put in. You can put in more, like I said, but always start with a lower salt amount, because if you put way too much salt, the only thing you can do is add more tomatoes to balance it out. And that's, if you're working with limited ingredients like I do, because it's stuff from my garden, then you can't, there's no fucking up. It's the same thing that I do with the vinegar. So the amount of vinegar that I use is dependent. I normally will start out with 2 tablespoons of vinegar for that much tomatoes and that much salt. Around 2. And the reason I start off low is because if you have high acidity tomatoes, then when they cook down, too much vinegar will make it very acidic and unappealing to the palate. You want it to be around the 4.2 to 4.6 range, which also makes itself stable and safe for you to keep in your cabinet for months without it risking giving you botulism or any weird mold or fungus growing on it. So check the acidity. As weird as it sounds, taste test on a regular basis, because you'll be able to tell if you need to add more vinegar. It won't taste as acidic as you're probably used to with ketchup, because most ketchup is like that, and that's why ketchup takes a long time to go bad, is because most ketchups have a lot of vinegar in it. It's like normally the 3rd or 2nd ingredient in a ketchup. So excuse me. So with those 3 things, you pretty much have a ketchup that's started. Now, after you have those base things, what you can do is you can start adding other ingredients. And remember, for every certain amount of weight of wet ingredient that you put in, you have to put a 3% value of salt in as well. So with those 3 tomatoes, say if, like me, I add an orange bell pepper in there and a couple of hot peppers to make it spicy and to give it a little bit of that pepper flavor in it. Then, if that bell pepper weighs near or around the same amount as tomato, then you got to add that salt in. So you add the little bit of extra salt in and stuff like that. Chop it up into small pieces, blend it. Make sure it doesn't have to be smooth, because again, you're going to cook it on the stove and it will cook out any chunky bits for the most part. But ideally, you want to put that kind of stuff in when it's still like broken down. Like, I don't like to just stick a halved bell pepper into my food processor, because I feel like you end up with way more inconsistent big chunks that way. At least with my food processor. So I try to cut everything up into small sections before I throw it in. And the other thing you can do, this is something that you would do before you start doing the other processes to make your ketchup. Because again, I wanted to start out If you had never made it before, you have to start out with the traditional and then work your way to funky. So one of the things that I like to do, if you want to impart a smoky flavor into your thing, is you can take your bell pepper, because it doesn't really work that well with tomatoes, because you normally take the skin off the tomatoes. You take your bell pepper and your garlic, and you burn it on a pan on the stove. And when I say burn it, I mean actually burn it. Put the pan on like 8 or 9 on your stove. Let the pan get so hot to the point where it's almost smoking. And then throw your bell peppers, whatever stuff you want to give a char color to. If you're adding onions into it, throw the onions in to caramelize them and burn them a little bit. You want to see black spots on some of those bell peppers. You want to see like visible, basically burn on that stuff. And although you don't get a wood smokiness flavor, you do get that like barbecue cooked, like grilled flavor. And you add that stuff into your stuff. That stuff into your stuff. That stuff into your ketchup. Whatever you want. Again, it could be anything. Literally the sky's the limit with that. You could have blueberries and stuff like that if you wanted to make a smoky blueberry sauce or something. Because at that point it's not even just ketchup that you're making. You're basically making a sauce. But the difference in between a sauce and a ketchup is normally a sauce is not cooked down that much. Like a barbecue sauce is normally not cooked and simmered for a long time. Of course, it depends on the barbecue sauce, and it's why the term like sauce and ketchup are kind of interchangeable, because ketchup is just a sauce, basically. Sorry, I've got like a raspiness in the right side of my chest. It's because I've been standing over that fucking shit. After you get all your stuff mixed together, though, whatever things you want to mix together, remember you want the tomatoes to be the base of it if you actually do want it to taste like a ketchup. So try to have more tomatoes than your other ingredients by at least 3/4 of the amount. You want 3/4 of it to be at least just straight tomatoes. Doesn't matter what type of tomatoes. Like me, I mixed cherry tomatoes in with my Lemon Boy tomatoes. And no, I'm not making that Lemon Boy name up. That's the actual variety name. And then I used my Sun Golds because I wanted it to be an orange colored ketchup. Of course, when it cooks down a little bit, it'll be like a really dark orange. But right now, it looks like fluorescent orange. Because I used very fluorescent orange bell pepper and the tomatoes, because my Lemon Boys, the picture for them online shows them as bright yellow tomatoes, but I was like, that doesn't kind of look right to me. So I didn't harvest mine when they were bright yellow, and I let them sit on the plant a little bit longer. Turns out my inclination was right, and they actually blush orange. They don't blush to yellow, which is actually what happens with a lot of yellow varieties, is that they're actually some sort of orange, or they're a khaki. And so they'll turn yellow first, and then they'll turn like a milky khaki color. These ones turned orange. And so I used them to make the orange base of that. Then all you do is, once it's mixed together, I know I didn't say this before and I meant to, you just throw it into a pot on your stove on the lowest setting. If you have a gas stove, don't use a gas stove for this because your lowest setting won't be low enough. You need to put it on a electric crock pot or an electric stove on literally just the enough to activate the stove setting. That's what I had to put mine on, because I had mine on too and it was bubbling too much. So mine's on literally where it just says low. Because you only want to see bubbles at the very rim of it. If you're seeing bubbles at the center, it's too hot and it's cooking out your spices or whatever you have in it. And you don't want that to happen. You want it to just thicken over time. And then once it's thick, you just put it in a bottle or a mason jar or whatever you want. I'm going to put mine in mason jars, but it doesn't. You can put it in a fancy hot sauce bottle if you want. That's what Mike does. I don't. Just about everything I make goes into a mason jar, because mason jars store stuff better. Due to having actual airtight lids. But you can take that same thing, if you want to make a marinade, you do the same thing, you just don't cook it down. Just leave it liquidy and add more spice to it. Add like clove or cardamom, stuff like that into it if you want to impart a different kind of flavor. You can even add stuff like anchovies if you're a huge fan of Worcestershire sauce. If you didn't know, that's what gives Worcestershire sauce its unique flavor. A lot of people don't even know that. It's anchovies and clove that give that sauce its unique flavor. It can be anything. You just have to make sure that, like I said, it stays acidic. It's why almost all sauces are acidic and not alkaline, because any alkaline sauce risks botulism if not used within a week. That's why even though everyone's having this like alkali health food movement where it's like we need to get alkali foods back in their diet, they don't understand that the reason why foods are so acidic is because acidic things actually store properly. Things that are alkaline don't. There's too many things that thrive in a neutral or slightly alkaline environment. Anyways, sorry, I'm gonna get back to playing the game here. Should have just titled this frickin' stream Catch Up. Gotta turn it down soon. I have to turn it off. It wasn't bubbling like this before, but then again, like I said, it's getting real low.
No.
I don't know. I've always had an affinity for making my own stuff ever since I was a kid, because I've always been like, well, if these people made it, then I can make that too. Sort of mentality. And it's like I said earlier, it's not even that I don't like most mainstream things. One of the things I like to do is use Worcestershire sauce to make my own sauce, which technically, I guess, circumvents it a little bit, but making homemade Worcestershire sauce is really hard to nail just right, so using a little bit of it to make your own type of sauce, to make like a steak sauce. shit's way better for you than soy sauce. I'll tell you that much.
Soy sauce is too salty, no pun intended.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base. Focus on this location. Enemy exposed. Target locked. They've spotted us. The driver is deep. Barely here. That one drilled straight through. Enemy exposed.
No, I'm so slow.
Target locked. Enemies looking right at us. Ready to fire on target. We barely grazed them. They didn't penetrate their armor. That's it. Ready to hit.
Also, another thing I should mention, they always try to make it seem like you need paste tomatoes in order to They always make it seem like you need paste tomatoes to boil to take the skin off because the skin is so thick. I'll tell you right now, it works with every kind of tomato. I did it with cherry tomatoes. I did it with those lemon boys, which if you look them up, they're not a paste tomato, but all tomatoes make paste. The only difference is that tomatoes that are not paste tomatoes have a higher water content, meaning you either need to cook it off more or cut the tomatoes and let them drain, like I was saying before, for like 30 minutes before putting them in to make the sauce. Because after you take the skin off, they'll just bleed all of their water out for the most part. Shut up, squawky bird. A squawkatuga.
Enemy spotted us.
K-A-N-K. Tay. I didn't say T, I said Tay. Oh, hello, Artie. It looks like you were trying to go for me, the guy in the premium tank with the nice skins on it. Son of a larp.
Tracks lost, we're immobilized. Ready to fire. Track repaired. Drive on. They're looking at us. Locked, loaded, and ready.
Locked, loaded, and ready.
They spotted us. Our vehicle was destroyed. Gun loaded.
No, I could have shot him.
Tracks are damaged. Focus on this location. Lost the track.
Eat my nards, guys. You can shoot at me all day. Well, that guy can't. He'll kill me. But everyone else,
Fire at will.
just stop wasting your
Tracks
ammo.
up. Let's move.
Let the Artie kill
Target's
me.
locked.
Oh, this sucks.
WTF LOL. Emoji happy
Tracks
tears.
busted.
I can't aim up. This thing does not have good gun elevation.
Scrap.
Fuck. Harder than it looks to hit a guy moving at 60 kilometers an hour at an angle when your tank doesn't want to aim high enough, so you're constantly having to try and adjust your tank so you can aim higher. Oh my word. You watch, I'll have a good match in this thing, but I can't have a good match in the frickin' the same tank with a different name.
Enemies incoming. Either take them all out or capture their base.
Let's do this. Oh yeah, that's right. You want to
Lol, I
drive...
made an Athena character in Borderlands.
Why? Don't burn yourself out, man. We still need to try and complete that before Iceborne.
fire.
Fuck! It was the right amount in front, just...
Gun loaded.
The bullet went low, and I didn't aim high enough, so it was a combined thing.
We read pretty close with Frag Trap anyways. There's only like 3 more story missions, I think.
What do you mean? There might be only 3 more bosses left, but there's a lot more side missions. There's at least 30 to 40 more side missions. Because half of them don't get revealed until you complete a main story person.
They're looking at us. Loaded and ready.
Loaded and ready. What accent even is that? Like, I can't, I don't know. It's like a made-up accent. It's like, there's no one on this earth that actually talks like that. Loaded
Most
and
of
ready.
them are just boring fetch quests. We should only do the ones that are good.
It's not about the actual quest part of it. It's about the dialogue, man.
Locked, loaded and ready. Straight through. Enemy spotted us. Nailed them.
The problem with us is we're just not doing missions in bulk in an area. We keep going back and forth in between areas because I'm terrible at managing missions. Why do you think my, like, Jack playthrough all the way to max level and completing all the side missions took me, like, I think it was like 70 streams or something like that?
Ready to fire.
But we're only doing normal mode. I don't know, I feel like you should always do at least every quest one time. Because some of them are pretty funny. Like, considering if we hadn't done all the quests, you would have never found that,
You
or...
got some kind of completion fetish or something.
That's just how it is for me. I don't do it every playthrough, I just do it if you've never done it before. When I started playing... I never completed all of the quests in the pre-sequel until I did that. And I missed out on a lot of funny weapons and quests because of it. Even if they weren't necessarily good.
They're looking at us.
Borderlands 2 is like that as well. It has a lot of funny side quests, but a lot of them are just dumb. The actual thing you do on the quest is boring, but the actual shit that goes on during the quest with the characters is pretty funny. Especially because in the pre-sequel they have way more character interaction.
Tracks busted.
Tracks busted.
Nailed them.
He's gonna win.
Track repaired. Drive on.
Drive on. Oh, you ass. You ass with a mustache.
Target locked.
fast bagel.
Ready to fire.
I hate this sand. The sand makes your tank go so slow because it's counted as soft terrain.
Got them in our sights. Job done.
Job done. Another thing that also makes this take a lot of time is I like going back and grinding weapons. It's like last night where we sat there and farmed those guys for a little bit. We didn't have to. I just wanted to show you that. That's why I didn't do it for that long. I don't know, man. Why do you think I master all the weapons in Monster Hunter, even if I hate them? Well, I wouldn't say I master them, but I know all the abilities to use. How to use it. Am I good at using it is the different question. That's why I went with hammer to kill Velkhana, because it's the easiest weapon with the best new mechanic added to it, arguably. I'm sure people would argue the greatsword's mechanic is good too, but it's only as good as you can make it. On Elder Dragons that you can't stagger with normal slinger projectiles, you're not going to hit it with true charge slashes. You're going to miss them just as much as you would if you sat there and charged them up normally. Because half of the time if you charge them up normally, the monster would have maybe jumped away, but if you just kept sitting there charging for a second, the monster would come right back and you'd hit him on accident. So...
Locked, loaded and ready. Got them in our sights. Enemy spotted us. Hit some damage. Target locked. Loaded and ready.
Can I hit a guy?
Get immobilized. Radio man's hit. He's in bad shape. Gunner down. Someone get on the gun.
I got that guy. I blocked or deflected 3,500 damage. I don't know. I know that the pre-sequel is super short, so I've beaten the game in less than 4 hours. And that's with me doing me things. The game suffers from being too short because you can just rail line the main story and have little to no repercussions. The only repercussions of only doing the main story is RK5 is really hard because you normally have under-leveled guns at him.
Like wasting an hour to glitch through ceilings.
What do you mean? I didn't do that. The game did that to me. Don't act like I wanted to glitch through the ceiling, dude. If you were the one who had that happening to them, I'm sure you'd do the same thing. If I could be the host and you be the person on the side, then that would be great, because then you'd get to see what what normal conditions I'm normally operating under. Like a full second sniper rifle bullet delay. Oh, that was a glooper.
Our mission is to capture and hold the marked objective. Let's do it.
Get off of there. It's getting thick. It doesn't want to come off the friggin' spoon. My wooden spoon. Ghetto. No, that wasn't. That was a Centurion. I don't know why I thought it was like a Pro Ghetto.
Look out, enemy spotted.
Oh, hello, nerds.
Let's go hole in their armor. Looks like we're shooting spitballs.
Could have probably done that a little bit better, but look, I just was an obstacle for that guy. He's gonna back up into my corpse and then get killed by the heavies. I did something. It's alright. That tank is so slow for a light. The prototype was developed immediately and entered production without any trials. That front suspension looks like it would take all the force of this vehicle. It looks so front heavy, but I know it's probably not, because the engine is probably so massive. Wow, this thing goes to so many tanks. What the fuck, dude? Stug. Get stugged on. When did you want to play? In like another hour or so? Actually, more like an hour and a half.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base.
Whenever you're ready.
Enemies looking right at us. Target locked. One of our tracks is damaged. Enemies got us in their sight. Target locked. Enemies looking
No,
right
he's
at
looking at me. Yep, I knew it. And he put the anti-tank gun on it. He's not going big boy with the... Yeah, that's what you deserve for not going with the Hotwitzer, you absolute nerd. He's like, I'm gonna use the anti-tank gun on the OI. I'm totally fun. I don't like using big boom gun because it shoots slow bullet. Instead, I use tiny gun on big tank because I like to undercompensate. Because my dick's actually fucking heat. Massive. Whoa. Whoa, dude. Things. Whoa. You've got too much bravado. Styling. Come on, get some of that. Get some of that.
I think someone has had enough homemade ketchup for one night.
Ketchup. Should have grown mustard. But I don't actually like mustard a whole lot, dude. Not a huge mustard guy. You know what I mean? Not really. Mustard, dude. I was one of the kids that always called it mouse turds. I think someone has had enough. Oh my god. That hurts. That hurts me personally.
You need to write scripts before each stream. This shit is genius.
Do I write scripts? I wish I was that organized. Oh no! Oh. 4 strength, 4 stand, leather belt. Oh! Oh! Level 18. Oh! Oh. Goodbye. Never mind. You survived. The blasphemy cannon. Got him.
Ready to fire on target.
Pop.
Unlocking target.
I I nailed him even though I can't aim at him from this angle. I can aim at him from that angle because the gun actually shoots the bullet in a slight arc. That guy did some work. Exclusive 50% discount to you and you only. 50% discount, 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 discount. Whoops. Sorry, mate. Sorry. It's a mouse, or a mouth, as it would actually be pronounced, but everyone just calls it mouse. Hide me!
Ready to fire.
Hide me!
Enemies
I'm not hidden!
sight.
Help! Help me! I need help!
Focus on this area. Ready to fire on target. Releasing target.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez, Scoob. Oh, jeez, Scoob. Oh, jeez. Whatever. Should have just stayed and captured the base, but I knew that the other people on my team wouldn't, because everyone hates capturing bases to win. Man, I want to get that different gun so bad.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base. They've spotted us. Locked on. Ready to fire. Enemies got us in their sights. They've spotted us. Enemies got us in their sights. Gun loaded.
Come on, let me aim down.
They're hit.
I have to make sure I have a good shot on the flattest plate, because Sergeant Slaughter. Wow, that guy just got a double kill. Shift up. Third gear, come on. Shift it. The power will pull it out. Shift the gears. You better run. You better run, son. Why are you telling him to move, dude? Get out of here with that. Well, at least we won that one. Oh, you missed that one. Try another. Oh, you missed that one. Try another. Oh, you missed that one. Try another. Hold on, I gotta go do some of the homemade ketchup. Gotta snort it down. Gotta get a good flop sweat going, you know what I mean? It's looking mighty fine. I think it's still... It's almost...
Great job, let us celebrate with the shot glass of ketchup.
Almost there. I think it still has a little bit too much water on it. In it. The ketchup mixed with ranch. Get some ranch.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base.
Ranch it up. You mind if I hit this? Good old dirt shot. Right in the dirt hole.
Loaded and ready. Enemies got us in their sights. Ready to fire on target. Unlocking target. Gun loaded.
The old fire startup.
Just take them. Enemies looking right at us. Ready to fire on target. Target locked. Enemies got us in their sights.
Get your gun wagon out of here, bud.
Track repair. Target locked. Guys, back up. Go, go, go. Enemies looking right at us. All Allied artillery has been obliterated. Enemies got us in their sights. One of our vehicles destroyed. We're the last ones left. It's all on us now. Releasing target. We're done for. Everyone out.
Yo, bro, Tendo. Fucking Eric Andre. Oh no! I lost money.
We've got enemies incoming. Either take them out or capture their base. Let's go.
That bullet went so far away from where that guy was. How is a gun barrel even able to shoot a bullet that's that inaccurate?
Enemies got us in their sights.
Premium nerd.
There. Oh, saucy. Nope. Damn it. I knew it he was gonna kill me that time. No way he'd fuck up aiming twice. Oh wait, gotta go back to my vehicle. Oh yeah, that's where he shot me. I knew it. I was trying to get him to hit the side of my track by moving forward, but it's not like the light tank on our team. Our only scout is doing a whole fucking lot of good. You gonna move up, bud? With your fucking weird-ass gun? Look at that weird-ass gun. Ain't that a weird-ass gun? That's a weird-ass gun. Fucking weird. I kind of like it though, the way that that gun works on that tank. It's like a front hinge gun, where the turret stays even, but the mechanism that the gun is on tilts on the inside of it. It must be terrible in the rain. Like, the entire inside of that mechanism would just get fucking rusted to dog shit after a couple runs out on a rainy day. Unless that shit was polished every single day as well. Hold on, which one was that? That was the RHM Panzer. I think it should be at the bottom here. Oh, it was this thing.
Great job, man. Let us celebrate with some ketchup.
Rheinmetall Panzerwagen. On June 8th, 1957, Rheinmetall recorded a patent for a new light tank with an oscillating turret and a gun with trunnions. The proposed design allowed engineers to equip light vehicles with powerful 90mm and 105mm guns while preserving the minimum vehicle height. Rheinmetall did not have their own chassis for the subsequent tank production. They offered their turret to other plants. Existed only in blueprints. Cannon? I'm surprised it can even aim up. Did I just hear my ketchup popping? Oh, that's bubbling. That's just babbling. That's THI double coriander right now, dude. Thick. THI double coriander. You heard it here first, folks. Let's try some. Looks good. Has good particulate in it. Need to let it cool off. Ooh, that is spicier than I intended it to be. Hoochie mama mooski. Dang good though. That's a good pain. I shouldn't have put a whole I shouldn't have put a whole Bohemian goat in there. No, not a real goat. That's just the name of the pepper. It's an orange pepper. It was the only super hot pepper variety. It's not really super hot, but it was the only hot pepper variety that I had that I could work into that without changing the color too significantly. And it's fucking, that's a tongue tangle and a half. Doesn't really burn the throat that much, which I like better. But it also might be tongue tingly because of the pepper in it. Hold on, let me take another taste. Let me get another hit of this. Let me hit this. Oh yeah, that's some. I might need to add a teeny tiny bit more vinegar. There we go. Splash more vinegar. Mix that around a little bit. So needs more acidity. Doesn't have that bite that ketchup has, which just means there's not enough vinegar in it, because the tomatoes weren't that acidic because they were yellow-orange varieties, which have less acid than red varieties, so you have to compensate. Let me try it now with the extra vinegar in it. Oh yeah, that'll pull your cheeks in. Not really though. It wasn't actually that much different. It's harder to tell until it cooks in, because vinegar just dissipates so fast in a slurry like that. I have to let it sit for 5 minutes, come back and taste it again once my taste buds have gotten a wash. I want it to be good. But that stuff that'll hurt you if you're not used to hot stuff. Again, no throat burn though. It's all in the tongue and lips. Tastes really good though. Really tomatoey and peppery. That'd go really well on like a hot dog. A freshly grilled hot dog. Something like that would be awesome with it. Charcoal grill with some apple wood. I want to get a furnace type grill though. Which I might have to make one myself. Because buying stuff like that is very hard. buying the right thing. I want it to have a chimney, is what I'm saying. I need like a barrel with like a hole on one side of the barrel with the rest as just a flat for the surface, with a chimney that just pipes all the heat up out, and just a couple little holes drilled in to let the heat come out and the smoke, because I don't know, I'm against charcoal grilling. Charcoal grilling is so much worse for the environment. Not because charcoal is worse for the environment, it's just the way that we burn it is bad for the environment. If we burned most of our charcoal in a mostly oxygen-free environment, you can start the fire with oxygen, but then when you cap it and you make it wick up all the oxygen to induce the burn, you want to make sure that it's burning clean. And you want to make sure that the carbon is staying in place. You're not burning the carbon and sending it into the atmosphere. You're keeping the carbon, sequestering the carbon, and releasing all the volatile gases and tars and other things that are inside the wood. Which I believe the term for that is called pyrolysis. Wood that's undergone pyrolysis will turn into what's called biochar, which sounds like glass when you touch it. It sounds very brittle and glass-like, and if you put it in your mouth, it tastes like nothing. It doesn't even taste like wood. It literally has the opposite of taste because it will take the taste out of your mouth. That's why a bunch of New Age hippies are like, eat charcoal, or eat activated carbon, or whatever the fuck that kind of shit is, to help detox your body. It doesn't help detox your body. I mean, it does, but it helps detox your body and denutrient your body at the same time, because it's not like charcoal seeks impurities. Charcoal is just a vessel in which it's very porous and holds on to impurities, or good chemicals. For example, if you apply raw biochar to soil, you're going to have a nitrogen problem, because the biochar is going to absorb most of the nitrogen. But then when it gets fully loaded with nitrogen and microbes start to break down the charcoal into little tiny pieces, that nitrogen gets released back slowly into the soil. And biochar can be very essential for healthy soil because of that. But in the same limelight, it doesn't take just bad things, it takes good things too. Eating charcoal will absorb nutrients out of your digestive system and stuff like that as it passes through. It'll even take the bacteria with it. It'll take your gut biome with it. Because it holds on to that stuff. It doesn't let it go. I think I was either telling you or another friend, like a square inch piece of biochar that's properly cooked will have the surface area of a football field, because of all the pores and holes and tubes that go through it. Meaning that, in theory, you could take all of the nitrogen from that football field and put it all into that one piece of charcoal. That biochar, I should say. It's not charcoal. Because you have to think of it at a molecular level. Like every little molecule of nitrogen. There's a lot of nitrogen in even deficient soils. Because if a plant's growing there, even the smallest weed is growing there and it's slightly green in color, then there's nitrogen in that soil. Because nitrogen is a crucial part of every cell membrane. The same goes for you, or me, or anything, really. We all use nitrogen. It's a foundational chemical for cells. It's why one of the things that comes out when you pee is nitrates. Normally ammonium nitrate, which then breaks down and is the smell that causes when piss goes bad to make it smell like ammonia. Same thing with cat piss, because cat piss is high in urea. But again, it's a form of nitrate, or a type of nitrate, I should say. When it breaks down, it gives off nitrogen. That's why pee can be a fertilizer as long as you don't eat too much salty food. You eat too much salty food and try to use your pee as a fertilizer, what's going to happen is you're going to oversalt the soil. And salted soil kills plants. But you can fix salted soil with organic matter, so it's not bad. If you have a strong wood chip mulch, the salts in your pee won't matter that much. But if you're just doing it with straight, like, composted material for a garden bed, you don't want to use pee, because the smallest amount of salt in your system can literally disrupt a plant's growing habits, because they don't like a lot of salt. That isn't true for all plants, of course. There are plants that live next to salt water that wouldn't care about the salts in your pee any more than they would the salt water. But with most of your garden plants, with the exception of like certain kale species and stuff like that, they hate salt. They don't want salt anywhere near them. But I'll be right back. I need to use the bathroom. Oh, I gotta stir that again, gotta incorporate that. Because I could see it floating in a pocket. Worked its way up to the surface. Ooh. Smells good. Even though it bubbled pretty heavily there for a second, I don't think it overcooked it. Smells good, tastes good, and should be good. That's like a you don't want to give that to your friend without telling them what it is sort of thing. Unless you do want to give it to your friend without telling them and watch their reaction as they put something in their mouth with it on it. That'd also just make a good, I mean, as weird as this sounds, that'd also be really, really good with tortilla chips. That stuff. Just the way it tastes. It doesn't even necessarily have a salsa taste to it. It just, the flavor of it would really go well. It tastes very, almost Tex-Mexy. All I need to do is add a little bit of cumin and MSG, and it would taste like Tex-Mex. I do use MSG for some things, but I wouldn't put it in there. MSG is the savory flavoring that you get in Tex-Mex taco flavoring, like at Taco Bell and stuff like that. It's cumin and MSG normally is like the two main spices, and then just a chili powder. It's like the most basic taco sauce type recipe. It's definitely hot though. My lips are still burning.
We've got enemies incoming. Either take them out or capture their base. Let's go.
Lol tanks can't he swim bruv.
I was just trying to use that rock, because, I don't know. Sometimes I'm only paying, like, half attention if I don't care about the tank. I just heard a splort. Ad mortem lesplorticus. Automated vehicles.
We have to take and hold the marked objective. Get to it. Target locked. Gun loaded. Ready to fire on target. Penetration. Loaded and ready. Looks like that one went right through. Enemy is toast. Enemy's got us in their sights. Right hit. Target locked. Looks like we're shooting spitballs. Locked and loaded. They've spotted us. He's gone.
How did I hit him? That bullet didn't even look like it came close.
Ready to fire on target. Enemy's got us in their sights. Ready to fire. Enemies are capturing the base.
I just got a shaft from Nergigante.
Well, I think I'm actually going to get off here just so I can finish doing that stuff without having to worry about it. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace out.